Today, Richard is motoring out on the Chiemsee in
Power is furnished by forcing hydrogen peroxide under pressure.
The 1960s were a wild era of innovation, during which bold ideas pushed the boundaries of science and technology. From flying cars to nuclear-powered gadgets, some inventions were too radical for their time, banned, forgotten, or simply ahead of their time. What happened to these futuristic creations? Why did they vanish? Join us as we explore the 25 banned 1960s tech innovations that were way ahead of their time. The 1960s saw a surge of groundbreaking, bizarre, and often impractical inventions that disappeared, were banned, or never made it past the prototype stage. One such creation was the Dynasphere, a futuristic monowheel vehicle resembling a giant hamster wheel. Invented by J.A. Purves, it promised an innovative approach to transportation but suffered from severe stability issues, making it impractical for everyday use. The concept re-emerged in discussions of experimental transportation during the decade, but remained largely impractical due to severe stability and maneuverability issues. Riders struggled with balance, and the vehicle's design made sudden stops dangerous. Despite its intriguing aesthetic and visionary appeal, it never advanced beyond experimental prototype.
By twisting the whole track over to one side, and you will notice that while we are...
Like many other radical transportation ideas of the time, the Dynasphere was ultimately abandoned, serving as a historical curiosity rather than a viable mode of transport. Its legacy remains an example of ambitious but flawed innovation. The 1960s were a time of bold technological experiment, many of which seemed straight out of science fiction. One of the most thrilling yet short-lived inventions was the rocket belt, a personal jetpack developed for individual flight. Powered by hydrogen peroxide-fueled thrusters, it could lift a person into the air and travel short distances at high speed.
The whole point of the 1991 film The Rocketeer, starring Billy Campbell. Today, the rocket belt stands, if that's the right word.
However, the dream of personal flight quickly faded due to its extreme cost, limited flight time, only about 30 seconds per use, and high risk of accident. Despite its appearances in movies and military tests, the rocket belt never became commercially viable. Like many other futuristic 1960s inventions, such as amphibious cars, atomic-powered batteries, and ultrasonic washing machines, it was ultimately abandoned as impractical. Flying on your back had risks, but what if your car was powered by a nuclear reactor instead? During the 1960s, automakers explored futuristic designs, pushing the limits of technology. One of the most radical ideas was the Ford Nucleon, a concept car envisioned to run on a small nuclear reactor instead of gasoline. Inspired by the nuclear-powered submarines of the time, it promised virtually unlimited mileage without refueling. However, the risks were enormous: radiation exposure, reactor shielding challenges, and the potential for catastrophic accidents made it completely impractical. Additionally, the required miniaturized nuclear technology was far beyond what was achievable. As a result, the Nucleon never progressed beyond a scale model. Like other ambitious 1960s innovations, such as atomic-powered planes and self-driving highways, it remained a futuristic fantasy that was simply too dangerous for reality. In the 1960s, AT&T introduced the picture phone, an ambitious attempt to revolutionize communication by combining audio with live video transmission. It allowed users to see each other during calls, a concept that seemed straight out of science fiction. Launched with great optimism, the picture phone debuted at the 1964 New York World's Fair and was later installed in select locations. However, it failed spectacularly due to its high cost, bulky design, and the reluctance of people to appear on video during casual calls.
Well, let's have a look at you, Bill.
Right, Henry, picture coming up. Gee, it's good to see you, Henry. You're certainly looking fit.
How's Betty, Bill?
Additionally, the technology required dedicated phone booths or expensive home installations, making it inaccessible to most customers. Decades later, video calling became mainstream with smartphones and the internet, proving that the picture phone was simply too ahead of its time. The 1960s were a golden era for transportation experiment, and one of the most exciting innovations was the hovercraft, a vehicle designed to glide over land and water on a cushion of air. Inventors imagined it as the future of travel, eliminating the need for roads and offering unmatched versatility. While some military and commercial models proved useful, many early designs were unreliable, noisy, and difficult to control. Fuel consumption was high, and maintaining the air cushion required constant power, limiting efficiency. Civilian versions failed to gain widespread adoption.
I soon got the hang of the controls.
And most ambitious hovercraft concepts faded into obscurity. Today, only a few specialized models remain, used primarily for military, rescue, and niche transport applications, proving the limits of 1960s optimism. Hovercrafts were limited, but could a compact motorized scooter solve urban mobility? Before modern electric scooters became popular, the Autoped emerged in the 1960s as an early attempt at a personal motorized transport. It was designed as a compact, stand-up scooter with a small engine, so it promised urban commuters a fast and convenient alternative to walking. However, the Autoped quickly ran into problems. Safety concerns arose due to its unstable design, lack of proper braking systems, and difficulty maneuvering at high speeds. Cities began banning or restricting its use after numerous accidents and complaints from pedestrians. Additionally, its noisy engine and limited fuel efficiency made it less practical than expected. Despite its potential, the Autoped never gained widespread acceptance and faded into history, only to have its concept revived decades later with modern electric scooters. The dream of a flying car captivated inventors throughout the 1960s, leading to multiple prototypes that combined automobile convenience with aircraft capabilities. Engineers envisioned vehicles that could seamlessly transition from the roads to the skies, eliminating traffic congestion and revolutionizing transportation. Models like the Curtiss-Wright Air Car and the Moeller M200X experimented with vertical takeoff and jet propulsion. However, these futuristic machines faced insurmountable challenges, high costs, complex controls, and serious safety risks.
In 1931, President Hoover presented Pitcairn's autogyro with the Collier Trophy, the most coveted award in aviation. It was the first time an aircraft.
Regulatory hurdles also prevented mass adoption, as air traffic laws weren't designed for personal flying vehicles. Additionally, fuel consumption and maintenance requirements made them impractical for daily use. Though the concept never materialized in a commercially viable form, the dream persists, with modern companies still chasing the flying car fantasy. The jetpack, a symbol of futuristic freedom, was heavily researched in the 1960s, with inventors hoping to create a practical personal flying device. Unlike airplanes or helicopters, jetpacks promise mobility in tight spaces, making them attractive for military, rescue, and civilian use. Various prototypes, including Bell's Aerospace's Rocket Belt, were tested using hydrogen peroxide-fueled thrusters to lift a person off the ground.
This man's getting lessons on how to use a rocket belt. And as you can see, it's not the easiest thing in the world to grasp.
However, the technology had severe limitations. Flights lasted mere seconds, controlling direction was difficult, and even minor malfunctions could be fatal. Additionally, production costs were astronomical, making mass adoption impossible. While jetpacks appeared in movies and demonstrations, real-world applications remain limited. Decades later, advancements continue, but jetpacks remain more of a spectacle than a practical transportation method. The Amphicar, introduced in the 1960s, was a unique hybrid vehicle designed to function both on land and water. Marketed as the ultimate adventure car, it featured a waterproof body, rear-mounted propellers, and a modest 43-horsepower engine. While it could drive on roads like a normal car, it could also transition into water with the flick of a switch.
My father-in-law was out and they were having a bit of a party in the back Lake Pewabiska near north of Hearst, and he was with an OPP and they decided...
However, despite its novelty, the Amphicar struggled with serious limitations. It was slow in water, reaching only about 7 miles per hour, and lacked the durability of a true boat. On land, its performance was underwhelming compared to standard cars. High costs, maintenance challenges, and limited practicality led to poor sales, causing the Amphicar to fade into obscurity after a brief production run. During the Cold War, the U.S. and the Soviet Union explored nuclear-powered aviation, leading to the concept of a nuclear-powered bomber, a plane designed to stay airborne for weeks without refueling. The idea was to equip bombers with nuclear reactors, granting them unprecedented range for strategic missions. Prototypes like the Convair NB-36H tested shielding methods to protect pilots from radiation.
The windshield was 12-inch thick leaded glass. The wall between the crew and the reactor was solid lead. That section alone weighed 105,000 pounds.
But the project faced insurmountable challenges. The weight of the reactor, radiation leakage risks, and the catastrophic consequences of a crash made the concept extremely dangerous. Additionally, advancements in ballistic missile technology reduced the need for long-range bombers. By the late 1960s, nuclear-powered aircraft were deemed too costly and risky, leading to the project's abandonment in favor of more practical alternatives. The bubble house was an experimental architectural concept of the 1960s, envisioned as a futuristic alternative to traditional homes. Constructed using lightweight, curved plastic or concrete shells, these dome-shaped structures were designed for affordability, energy efficiency, and rapid assembly. Architects envisioned their aerodynamic form as resilient against extreme weather and ideal for creating a distinctive, open living environment.
Essentially, we design a pneumatic formwork, essentially a big balloon, and we apply steel reinforcement onto that balloon, and then we spray that balloon.
However, despite their futuristic appeal, bubble houses faced numerous challenges. Construction methods were unconventional, making large-scale production difficult. Insulation and ventilation issues arose, and many found the rounded interiors impractical for furniture placement. Additionally, building regulations and public skepticism hindered widespread adoption. While a few prototypes were built, the concept never gained mainstream popularity, leaving bubble houses as a relic of 1960s architectural experimentation. If homes were being reimagined, why not rethink how vehicles could be powered? In the 1960s, engineers began experimenting with solar-powered cars, hoping to create a clean, renewable alternative to gasoline engines. These early models featured solar panels mounted on the roof, converting sunlight into electricity to power small motors.
The merits of the veteran car, as with, on this occasion, its source of power, the sun. For this is the world's first solar car, powered by a 10,000-cell panel on the roof, brought over from the...
While the concept was promising, technology at the time posed significant limitations. Solar cells were inefficient, generating minimal power and restricting speed and range. Batteries that store solar energy were bulky and expensive, making the vehicles impractical for daily use. Additionally, cloudy days and nighttime driving rendered them unreliable. Despite these setbacks, the idea never fully disappeared. Decades later, advancements in photovoltaic efficiency and battery technology revived solar cars, making them more viable, though still not widespread in the commercial market. The electric car is often seen as modern innovation, but automakers already experimented with battery-powered vehicles in the 1960s. Companies like General Motors and the American Motors Corporation developed prototypes hoping to reduce reliance on gasoline. These early models used bulky lead-acid batteries, which were heavy, slow to charge.
More convenient motoring is the dream of every car owner in Britain. The commuter, Ford's prototype electric runabout, could well be one of the answers to that dream.
And provided extremely limited range, often less than 50 miles per charge. Performance was another major drawback, as electric cars struggled to reach highway speeds. Additionally, charging infrastructure was non-existent, making them impractical for most drivers. With gasoline still cheap and readily available, consumer interest remained low. As a result, the electric car faded into obscurity for decades until advancements in battery technology and environmental concerns reignited interest in the 21st century. The flying saucer was not just a staple of science fiction in the 1960s, it was also the inspiration for real-world aircraft designs. Engineers experimented with disc-shaped flying vehicles, hoping to achieve superior aerodynamics in vertical takeoff. One of the most famous attempts was the Avro car, a U.S. and Canadian joint project designed as a hovering reconnaissance craft. However, the concept faced serious flaws.
It's in ground effect with a range of 25 miles or 40 kilometers and a payload of 1,000 pounds or 450 kilograms. Frost's projections were incredibly promising.
Stability issues made control nearly impossible, and the craft struggled to rise more than a few feet off the ground. The engines were inefficient, causing excessive heat and noise. Despite multiple redesigns, no practical flying saucers emerged. By the late 1960s, governments and engineers abandoned the idea, leaving it as an unfulfilled futuristic dream. The personal submarine was envisioned in the 1960s as the ultimate underwater exploration vehicle, allowing individuals to navigate beneath the waves like never before. Engineers developed small, 1 or 2 person submersibles for recreation, research, and potential military applications. These compact submarines featured airtight cabins, battery-powered propulsion, and basic navigation controls. However, the concept never gained mainstream success due to several challenges. The cost of manufacturing and maintaining a personal submarine was extremely high.
If your dream is to dive deep beneath the waves in your own personal submarine, a Dutch company has created the perfect product. U-Boat Works' Sequester line,
making it accessible only to the wealthy or specialized industries. Safety concerns such as limited oxygen supply, pressure resistance, and emergency surfacing difficulties further restricted their adoption. While modern versions exist for luxury buyers, personal submarines never became a practical mode of transportation. With humans exploring new depths, could robots take over everyday household chores? The idea of a robotic butler fascinated inventors in the 1960s, promising a future where machines would handle household chores. Engineers designed early prototypes with mechanical arms, voice recognition, and rudimentary artificial intelligence to assist with serving drinks or cleaning tasks.
And tomorrow, guess what? A newfangled chimney top for frightening away storks? The headpiece of a third program announcer? No. Proudly we present George, mechanical Irk of the RAF Saffron Walden, brainchild of Pilot Officer Sale.
However, these robotic assistants were far from practical. They were slow and clunky and required extensive programming for the simplest tasks. Limited processing power and inefficient motors made movement awkward, while battery life was poor. The cost of building such machines was prohibitively high, restricting them to experimental labs and exhibitions. While robotic butlers remained a futuristic fantasy, advancements in AI and automation have since brought us closer to the dream with modern smart assistants and home robots. The automatic kitchen was a futuristic concept in the 1960s, designed to revolutionize home cooking by automating meal preparation. Engineers envisioned kitchens equipped with robotic arms, pre-programmed cooking stations, and conveyor belts that could prepare, cook, and serve food with minimal human effort. Some designs even included built-in dishwashers and ingredient dispensers for a fully hands-free experience. However, despite the excitement, the idea never gained traction due to its complexity and high cost.
And in the kitchen. This is the kitchen of tomorrow, a press-button dream coming true for Mrs. Housewife. All sorts of wonders are hers at the push of a button.
The technology of the time was not advanced enough to handle intricate cooking tasks, and maintenance was a nightmare. Additionally, homeowners found these systems impractical, preferring the flexibility of traditional cooking methods. While modern smart appliances have automated some kitchen tasks, the fully robotic kitchen remains a distant dream. It was a bold 1960s vision that promised to eliminate household chores by using advanced materials and automation. The concept involved waterproof, non-stick surfaces that could be sprayed down with built-in jets, washing away dust and debris. Some designs even featured air filtration systems that removed dirt particles automatically.
Nuts! Trouble with that same pipe fitting again. We kind of helped out with a little strapping tape. And then finally, the demonstration of the self-cleaning kitchen in the...
Engineers imagined self-sanitizing kitchens, bathrooms that disinfected themselves, and floors that repelled stains. However, despite the futuristic appeal, the idea never materialized due to technological and practical limitations. Waterproofing an entire home while ensuring electrical safety was a major challenge, and the cost of such systems was too high for the average homeowner. While modern advancements have introduced smart vacuums and antimicrobial surfaces, a truly self-cleaning house remains science fiction. The underwater city was a captivating 1960s concept inspired by advancements in deep-sea exploration and the space race.
Because urban landscape, as depicted in ancient texts, was nothing short of architecture.
Scientists and architects imagined fully functional submerged communities where people could live, work, and conduct research beneath the ocean's surface. Designs included pressurized domes, airlock entry systems, and oxygen recycling technology. Some proposals even suggested farming seafood and generating power from ocean currents. However, despite ambitious blueprints, the idea faced overwhelming challenges. Building and maintaining underwater structures was prohibitively expensive, and ensuring a continuous air supply posed serious risks. Additionally, prolonged underwater habitation raised health concerns, including pressure-related illnesses. With the difficulties outweighing the benefits, underwater cities remained an unrealized dream, though modern advancements continue to fuel interest in deep-sea living concepts. If living underwater wasn't feasible, was space colonization the next big step? The Space Hotel was an ambitious 1960s concept that envisioned luxury accommodations orbiting Earth, allowing tourists to experience zero gravity and breathtaking views of space. Inspired by the space age and rapid advancements in rocketry, designers imagined inflatable space stations equipped with private cabins, dining areas, and recreation zones. Some proposals even suggested artificial gravity through centrifugal force. However, despite the excitement, the idea never became a reality due to insurmountable challenges. Launching and maintaining such a facility required enormous funding beyond what governments or private companies could afford. Additionally, space travel was still dangerous and limited to trained astronauts. While the Space Hotel remained a fantasy for decades, modern companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin have revived interest in space tourism. The Jetsons car, inspired by the futuristic flying vehicles from the iconic 1960s cartoon, fueled real-world attempts to develop airborne personal transportation.
Take his wife!
Engineers experimented with vertical takeoff and landing technology, hoping to create compact, easy-to-fly cars that could bypass traffic congestion. Prototypes like the Muller Sky Car and the Curtiss-Wright Air Car tested jet propulsion and ducted fan systems. However, these vehicles faced major hurdles. Controlling them required complex piloting skills, fuel consumption was impractical, and safety risks were enormous. Additionally, air traffic regulations were not designed for widespread personal aviation. While none of these flying cars reached mass production, the dream never fully disappeared. Today, drone technology and autonomous flight advances reignite interest in bringing Jetson-style travel to reality. The personal helicopter was envisioned in the 1960s as the ultimate solution for individual air travel, allowing people to bypass traffic and commute effortlessly through the skies.
Submerged enemy subs is lowered into the water.
Engineers designed compact, lightweight helicopters powered by small engines or jet turbines, with some featuring coaxial rotors to eliminate the need for a tail rotor. Models like the Hiller rotor cycle and the Williams X-Jet were tested for military and civilian use. However, despite the excitement, these helicopters never became practical. They required skilled piloting, were expensive to maintain, and posed serious safety risks, including instability in turbulent conditions. Fuel efficiency was another major drawback. While the idea faded, modern drone technology and electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicles reignited interest in personal aerial transport. The robot teacher was a bold 1960s concept that revolutionized education by replacing or assisting human instructors with automated machines.
Completed everything. You have achieved an average score of 80%.
Early prototypes were envisioned as mechanical tutors equipped with pre-programmed lessons, voice synthesis, and even rudimentary artificial intelligence to interact with students. Some designs included robotic arms to write on chalkboards or flip through books. However, these early attempts were far from practical. The technology at the time lacked the sophistication needed for real-time problem solving, adapting to different learning styles, and managing classroom dynamics. Additionally, the high cost of developing such machines made widespread adoption unrealistic. While these early concepts failed, modern advancements in AI-driven virtual tutors, educational robots, and adaptive learning software have brought the vision to reality. If robots could educate children, could cars finally learn to drive themselves? The automatic car, an early vision of self-driving vehicles, emerged in the 1960s as engineers sought to create automobiles that could navigate roads without human intervention. Inspired by radar, sensors, and computing advancements, automakers experimented with embedded road sensors and remote-controlled guidance systems.
Styling with a purpose. The new 1948 Oldsmobile is the first.
General Motors showcased a concept where magnetized highways would guide cars, eliminating the need for steering. However, the technology was rudimentary. Computers were too slow, sensors lacked precision, and infrastructure changes were costly. Additionally, public trust in autonomous driving was minimal. Without AI or modern machine learning, these early self-driving concepts failed to materialize. While the dream faded for decades, today's advances in LiDAR, GPS, and artificial intelligence have reignited serious efforts toward fully autonomous vehicles. The space elevator was a revolutionary 1960s concept proposing a direct transport system from Earth to space without rockets.
Solar panels, or potentially even nuclear systems. Current designs estimate.
Scientists imagined an ultra-strong cable anchored to Earth and extending thousands of kilometers into orbit, with an elevator-like vehicle transporting people and cargo. The idea promised cheaper, more efficient space travel by eliminating the need for traditional fuel-heavy launches. However, despite its appeal, the concept remained purely theoretical. The biggest challenge was the lack of a material strong enough to support such a massive structure under the Earth's gravity. Additionally, atmospheric conditions, orbital mechanics, and potential collisions with satellites made the idea even more complex. While still unrealized, advancements in nanotechnology and carbon nanotubes kept the dream of a space elevator alive.